In order to get the most out of your synchronous sessions, we encourage you to do a bit of lesson planning. And one of my favorite lesson planning approaches for a mini lesson is a BOPPS lesson plan approach. Now, the BOPS follows a traditional beginning, middle, and end perspective, but it has a greater level of specificity. For example, there's a bridge-in activity followed by the outcome, learning outcome, the pre-test, participatory learning section, post-test, and summary. But again, it follows that traditional approach. Now, the bridge-in is really quite important because it's the hook of your whole presentation. It's a way of capturing your audience's attention, and it really is intended to help your students want to learn and want to explore and find things out. So if you consider our Power Video session that we did, even the header or even the title of the presentation, the Power Video, embedded a notion of the bridge-in activity. I included an image. If a picture can say 1,000 words, what about a video? And then I set up a scenario. I set up a problem. I set up an opportunity where I gave the participants an opportunity to go into the breakout rooms and come up with a scenario for folding a shirt as quickly as possible, repeatedly as possible, or repeatedly many, many times over, rather. And then how would you teach others? So this scenario was set up as part of the bridge activity. And then when people came back, they talked about what they're planning to do. I was looking for somebody to talk about the fact that, yeah, there's this amazing video, right? So that video is one of many bridge-in activities. And you'll see that there are a lot of bridge-in techniques that I use and that I combined. And the goal of the bridge-in is to really sort of establish a sense of curiosity, maybe even raise some doubt, and maybe set up a problem or an opportunity. So the bridge-in technique is a wonderful tool to hook your learner. This then is followed by presenting an outcome, and it's really about establishing where are you taking the learner, where are they going, what are you going to do, and you might even want to explicitly say by this end of this lesson you should be able to. And our learning outcome for the Power Video is using media resources like video, audio, etc., to enhance the learning environment. Very, very important to state what you're planning to do and where you're taking the learner. The learner. The learning outcome is crucial to this. Now, followed immediately by the learning outcome is a sense of getting a notion of where your learner is at. Now, I used a few scenarios to ask a series of questions, and you really want to start the aspect of participation. Now, you notice in the bridge-in activity that I had set up, there was already a lot of participation that was happening, so this was working quite well. But the pre-assessment stage is another place to ask those questions, open-ended questions. Brainstorming can work. There's a variety of things that you can do. Now, we asked a question, what is the most popular search engine in North America for 18 years and younger? YouTube was the answer. And this is really to get people thinking about what are search engines? Where do people go to search? Follow-up question, general search engine. It also was YouTube. So from there, we shifted into the participatory section where we looked at some other aspects. And this is where you can also do a little bit of presentation just as long as you're asking questions as you go along. If you have the time, you can stop and ask questions. There's a variety of things that you can do in this particular section, right? But the key is to establish some level of interaction. And if you've done your bridge-in well and you've done your pretest well, the engagement, the level of engagement and participation should follow along. So I pointed to a video, an image of a brain scan as a way to present authority. I pointed to an authority, and we talked about that a little bit. And then I went into a how-to. Now, I related this to a personal story, and I talked about the fact that my boys are doing that. And I shared the how-to video perspective, and then I pointed to a website that combined these ideas. Right, the step-by-step component, the how-to, talked about the fact that YouTube videos are great. The problem with YouTube videos, anybody can create them, and so you might have to watch a dozen videos in order to find the answer. But if you combine a good video with a how-to section, that's gold. That's wonderful. And I pointed to these additional resources. And then the next section is a post-assessment to get a sense of where people are at. This is where you ask specific questions about, what are your thoughts? How powerful are YouTube videos, right? This is your opportunity to ask for key things to make sure that you got your learner to where you want them to be, right? And where they need to be. You might ask about the muddiest moment. Are there still some questions? You leave this open. So in our session, we had 2 questions. What are the advantages of using video media, and how do video and media enhance learning? And this is where I stopped and again got additional engagement. So it's really important that you follow this type of a process, and you want to try to make it fit into that 10 to maximum of 12-minute session. I call it a 10-minute mini lesson. So, and the last part was summarizing the ideas. And summarizing is a wrap up, it's confirming where things are going. And there's a variety of things that can be done in the summary. But again, this is where you want to ask questions to get a sense. You aren't necessarily doing the summary, your participants are. You might have to lead and guide and direct them on that notion. So the summary that I used, yeah, common advantages of the YouTube videos. It's mobile. Anybody can do it. 21st century tool. So I pointed to some summaries, but I was also looking for those summaries from my group. Now, the summary, this is important because this is where you are really getting the sense of where people are at and making sure that you're preparing the people, your participants, for the next component, the next lesson. There's a variety of things that can be done in the summary. So this is the summary of the BOPPS model.